everybody and welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Jess and today's video is going to be my August Defeat the TBR update. If you guys are new to my channel or new to this kind of challenge, I guess, that I set myself, this challenge involves kind of defeating my TBR, as in making sure that I am reading more than I'm purchasing each month. My goal is that by the end of the year I would like to have 30 books or less on my physical TBR. As we always start off, I will start off by popping on the screen how many books we had left on my physical TBR at the end of July. I did actually add one more book to this because I actually didn't end up finishing a book that I said that I was going to finish last month. As always, we start off with all the books I have hauled this past month. So I'm going to start off with the books that would have come to my door no matter what, and those are from my Illumicrate book box. Now I have my July and August Illumicrate books. So the July Illumicrate book was The Phoenix Keeper by S.A. McLean. This was meant to arrive in July, but it ended up arriving halfway through August just due to some issues. And yeah, this is what the book looks like. It's absolutely stunning. I love the sprayed edges. If you guys would like to see more of the special edition, then go ahead to my vlog that should be coming up next week on Sunday. A little sneak peek, I am currently halfway through the book, so yeah, but I don't want to give you guys my thoughts and opinions because you'll see them in the vlog next week, like I said. The August book did arrive in August on time. This one is absolutely stunning. This is Mistress of Lies by K.M. Enright. I am so excited to get around to reading this. This is everything that I love in it. It has fae, it has vampires, it has magical creatures, it has magic. I'm just so excited for this. And we have a strong female character with a male main character that has been through some shit. And we all know that is like my favourite dynamic in fantasy romance. I don't know why. I like it when the characters have pain and they have carried pain and things happen to them that just hurt. I don't know why. I don't know why I do it to myself because it hurts me every time, but I feel like it just makes such great character development and such great characters. This edition is absolutely stunning. These stenciled edges, oh, look at the detail in these edges. I cannot. The top and bottom are grey. Look at this hardcover. It's just absolutely stunning. But yeah, this has everything that I adore about fantasy romance in it, and I'm just very excited to get round to it. Okay, next up we have all of the books that I brought this past month. Honestly, I thought I did really well this month. We have 7 here. I thought I did really well, and I'm not sure how I've not done really well. I feel like August was maybe quite a long month. I can't really think. One of these books should have been added to the TBR last month, to be honest, and that is Magnolia Parks by Jessa Hastings. This is the book. I don't remember if I cut it out the video or not, but last month I said I wasn't going to add one of the books I had brought in the month because I brought it for a gift for someone else in my life. I brought 2 copies of this book, one for me, one for my close friend, and we're gonna buddy read it together, and I didn't want to haul it on my channel until after I'd given it to her. I'm very excited to get around to this, but also super nervous, and my friend feels the exact same way, and so I thought what better way to read this than to just read it together. Glow by Raven Kennedy. This is the 4th book in the Plated Prisoner series by Raven Kennedy. This series is so good. The character development is really good. I would say the first book you kind of need to stick with because it is a bit predictable. Once you get through the first book, everything starts developing. The character becomes more bearable. I know a lot of people do not like our main character in the series, but it honestly gets better and better. And I do want to try, fingers crossed, to finish this series by the end of the year. I'm not sure how that will go for me, but hopefully I can, because these books do get thicker and thicker as you go on. These 2 I brought together. I got them at Sainsbury's, and that is Apprentice to a Villain by Hannah Nicole Marais. This was a new release actually in August, and this was like a highly anticipated release for me this year, so I'm not surprised I ended up picking it up. I ended up picking up Throttled by Lauren Asher as well. This is the first in the Dirty Air series by her. This is like a F1 romance series by her. I already know that I like Lauren Asher's writing, and I do have one other F1 romance on my TBR. Although I'm really excited to read an F1 romance, I'm nervous to dip my toe into it just in case I don't like it. So I thought we could start with this one because I already know the author, maybe, I don't know. Then I was out with one of my friends. We were in a secondhand bookstore local to me, and they had The Lord of the Rings by J.R.R. Tolkien. Now, I don't know if I've talked about this, but you guys know I love to build my Legos, and I don't really have that many like bigger sets, I guess you would classify them as. I absolutely love the Lord of the Rings set, but I feel as though there's like a part of me that feels guilty that I want to own it without having read or been exposed to the Lord of the Rings, and I'm hoping that this is like the loyal thing to do. Also, this counts as one book even though it's got 5 books in it. This past month I have been buying a couple of books from Vinted, and I really think Vinted is underrated for book buys. I ended up purchasing Ruthless Vows by Rebecca Ross, and I'm so excited. This is the sequel to Divine Rivals, and that book actually broke a part of me, and I am very excited to get around to this. I was meant to read it this month, but I've accidentally ended up starting 2 reading vlogs in like the same time span, so because of that I didn't get around to this just yet. The final book that I purchased for myself is The God of Gumiho by Sophie Kim. This is the fairly exclusive edition. Again, I brought this from a Vinted seller. This is a recolor of the original dust jacket. I will just give you guys a quick tour of this book, but this book I basically wasn't that interested in, and then I recently this month heard someone talk about it and I just could not stop thinking about it. All the things she listed that are in this book are things that are like my favorite things in fantasy romance, and I just knew I just could not leave this. I really needed it. And honestly, the reason why I end up buying the special edition is purely and simply because I would have spent pretty much the same, well, I would have spent more actually buying the hardback of this book than I did actually end up spending to buy the special edition. I'm very excited to get around to this one. This one's one that's like so high on my priority list. I really want to get around to it. The final pile of kind of purchased books this month I have to show you guys are gifted books. So one of these is The Witches at the End of the World by Chelsea Irviston. This was gifted to me by my elder sister. She just couldn't get through this book and she decided to gift it to me because I could probably read it or I might enjoy it. I don't really want to know much about this book. I don't know anything about it. I've not heard anyone talk about it, but I don't want to. I feel like I want to go into this blind because it is under 300 pages long, so surely there can't be much to say on a synopsis that isn't going to spoil the book. And then the last 2 gifted ones were very kindly gifted to me by my partner. These were my graduation / getting my dream job gifts. These are fairly exclusives. He brought them from a seller on Facebook Marketplace, I believe. And these are what they look like. This is the City of Stardust by Georgia Summers. This is the custom dust jacket, and then Fairy do reversible dust jackets. So here's the reverse, and they have like the reverse is the published dust jacket, but normally in a recolor. So this one I believe is purple, and I think the original is like blue or black. Hardcover looks like this. The sprayed edges are just phenomenal on this book, and you've got the keys at the top and bottom, and you've got end paper art as well. I just think this is an absolutely stunning book. I mean, as all special editions and honestly normal books are as well. He also chose A Fragile Enchantment by Alison Saft. I must say I had nothing to do with these book selections, but my partner chose all by himself, and these books are just so me. Like, they're books that I would absolutely love, and I'm very excited. A Fragile Enchantment is actually one that I have wanted myself. When I saw everyone hauling the Fairy Loot edition, I was like, this is absolutely stunning. And the City of Stardust, I had seen the sprayed edges, and I was very curious of the book because of the sprayed edges that I saw come out. So yeah, these were both books I've heard of and I was curious about, but I just hadn't really done research into buying them. And with that, those are all the books I hauled this month. Time to move on to all of the books that I have read this month. And I believe that our TBR count is not going to look good by the end of this video, so I think I'm going to have to pull the Evel Knievel TBR jar down. The first book that I read this month was Belladonna by Adeline Grace. I absolutely loved this book. I felt the vibes were so good. I was enjoying it, and I was enjoying the personification of death in this book and the fact that he was kind of like a person and someone who watched over our main character. However, I felt as though his role in the story felt a bit mixed for me. At the very beginning, I was really into him as kind of like a love interest for our main character. And then there was a point where it kind of felt like that wasn't going to happen, and he kind of started to begin to see like as an elderly, almost teacher advisor to her. I feel like for me, the romance just felt a bit unsure, a bit watered down, if that makes any sense. I do want to continue this series because I'm intrigued to see where it goes. The gothic vibes in this book were so good. Like, so good, and I thoroughly enjoyed it as I went through this book. So I'm very excited to get into the next book because the vibes are so good. Then we have The Chain by Adrian McKinty. Honestly, this was just really lackluster. I didn't really enjoy this. The whole premise was really good, but Basically, all you need to do to be able to know what happens in this book is read the synopsis and you've got the book in one nutshell. It's not that it was badly written, it's just that it was so slow. I was bored. What I was trying to say here was basically that these people didn't want to actually do these horrible things. And I think the issue is that there was no real reason behind why the people that had set up the chain started the chain, and it didn't really make a lot of sense to me. And the whole plot just felt a bit pointless by the end of the book as well. I'm actually gonna lower my rating to a 1.5 star. Then I read 2 books on Kindle Unlimited in between. They are no small feat. They have like over 500 pages in each book, and that was Haunting Adeline, which I gave 4 stars. It's a dark, twisted romance between a stalker and the woman who's being stalked. So yeah, it's very taboo, it's very dark, it's very twisted, it's kind of uncomfortable at points, but it's also just really well written in terms of the circumstances. I know this is all personal preference. If you don't like a dark, twisted romance, you will not enjoy this book, and I would also really recommend you read the triggers for this book. I personally wouldn't be suggesting it to other people. Although I enjoyed it, it's not a book that I would openly suggest people to read because it is very, very, very dark, and it is very, very, very twisted. And I feel like for like the first 150 pages, like, I don't like this, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to get through this, and then all of a sudden just like there was a switch where I was like, oh my god, he really cares about her, she really cares about him. Then I read Hunting Adeline, which is the second, and this finishes the series. However, I genuinely cannot rate this book. I honestly don't know how I managed to read the whole book. And this is part of the reasons why I wouldn't recommend the first book, because although I enjoyed it, I honestly don't think I can safely recommend the second book to anyone. It is so dark, so twisted, and honestly, I don't have a rating for it. I have not put a rating in my head. I have no rating because I can't even rate it as good for the writing style. I cannot, because it was so dark. And yes, I did finish the whole book. I don't know how, because I was so uncomfortable and I was like, For me, I felt like it crossed that border of being dark and twisted, but I could kind of, you know, get through it and kind of see chemistry, whatever, to this is just beyond my limits. And I feel like I've kind of deleted part of this book from my mind because I generally cannot rate it. I couldn't rate it after I finished it because I was just so shell-shocked about the whole story. And honestly, I feel it's a sequel that just didn't need to happen, and it just got way too dark and way too uncomfortable for my liking. I did enjoy the first book, but the second book I generally cannot rate it because it was so dark and twisted, and I don't want to rate it. It's honestly beyond that scale of like, I cannot rate it because it just, yeah, I'm literally uncomfortable trying to explain why I cannot rate it. Like, that's the level of it, and I just, no. The things that happen in this book are just, they're not okay. They're not okay, and I honestly question why we needed this second book. Then I read Where the Crawdads Sing by Delilah Owens, again as part of the Random Colour Generator Generates My TBR for a Week video. I thought this book was okay. I feel like the longer I've had to kind of sit with this, I did enjoy it more than maybe I originally rated. I'm gonna give it 2.5 stars. I did enjoy the story. I really do think this has a lot to say about the prejudice in the world, and in terms of like our main character being someone who is just treated so poorly her whole life by these people just because she lives a different way to them. And I feel like it really had that kind of important conversation around that, but then the ending kind of like threw all that important conversation out the window, and I was like, well, I feel like for me it just wasn't within my reading taste. However, I did enjoy it, and it's one of those books I would love to like discuss with people. It's one of those books that would be good for a discussion. Then the final book that I read this month in the Random Colour Generator Chooses What I Read for a Week video was Secretly Yours by Tessa Bailey. This really thoroughly surprised me. I started off by saying this is probably gonna be my last Tessa Bailey that I ever read. I just haven't really liked much from her. I just don't think I'm gonna enjoy her writing. I think she's good for a beginner romance reader, and then I really ate my words. I really enjoyed this, and I'm very excited. I really want to read. I'm gonna read the next one, guys. I'm gonna read the next one. I really enjoyed this first one, and I just have to read the next one. I did finally finish Gleam by Raven Kennedy, which is the third book in the Place of Prisoners series. I don't really say much about this book because I did speak about it a lot in the last Defeat the TBR update, so if you're curious, I'll put a little card at the top for you guys of the screen right now, so then you can click on that to hear my kind of full thoughts on the book, because I've already pretty much gone through them in that video. Other 5-star read that I had, which again isn't in a reading vlog sadly, this book broke me. Now, this has been on my physical TBR for such a long time, and it's one of those that I was just very nervous to get to, and I finally read it, as you can tell. Absolutely adored it. Why did I leave it on my TBR for a year and a half, you ask? I have no idea. I think I was just really nervous because it was such a hyped book. This is a 5-star for me, and one of the reasons why is because I loved the writing, and I've really been enjoying that kind of slower, magical life kind of writing recently. I literally sobbed at some of the quotes in here. I'm going to read you this one quote that actually broke me because I have felt so similarly to this, and I just felt so seen, so heard, so, I don't know, my heart just broke. Sometimes I'm afraid to love other people. Everyone I care about eventually leaves me, whether it's death or war, or simply because they don't want me. They go places I can't find, places I can't reach, and I'm not afraid to be alone, but I'm tired of being the one left behind. I'm tired of having to rearrange my life after the people within it depart, as if I'm a puzzle and I'm now missing pieces, and I will never feel that pure sense of completion again. Then the last few books I'm not going to talk about in too much detail because all of them are coming up in the next couple of weeks in some reading vlogs, so I don't really want to spoil my whole kind of thoughts, feeling and opinion on them. But I did read The City of Stardust by George Summers this month as well. The writing style in here was so good, and one thing that I do want to say is I was so conflicted between this book because I loved the writing in here, loved it, found it phenomenal, really enjoyed it, and it's again that slower pace. I just loved it so much. However, the plot I had a couple of issues with, and I didn't really know how to fall on a rating with this, so I'm going to hold off and tell you guys my rating, and you can find out in the reading vlog and kind of see me go through all of the emotions and like the rating process. I also read Apprentice to the Villain by Hannah Nicole Morea. I can't make you wait this. This was a 5-star read. There were so many good quotes in here. There was so much chemistry, so much sexual tension between the main character, the male character, the female character. I am just heartbroken, but I'm speechless with this book. This book was just so unbelievably good. Although it is like a classified, I guess, as a fantasy romance, it is fantasy, but it's kind of like a fairy tale-esque world. It's just really well written. I absolutely adore it. And honestly, the frog, he's iconic in this book, and he was iconic in the first one. I just really feel as though the series, although we've only had 2 books from it, has gone from strength to strength. I thought the first book was good. I absolutely adored and loved the second book, and the third book I have a feeling I'm going to absolutely love and adore too. So I'm so excited to get around to the last, I don't know if it's the last one, to the third book in this series, and I cannot wait for it. Cannot wait, because I just love this world so much. Love the people in it, love the humor, love the I just love everything about it. And again, I don't want to say too much about because it's in a reading vlog, is A Fragile Enchantment by Alison Saft, and this is very much all of your Regency vibes, and it's very cool. It's got very similar vibes to, if you've watched Bridgerton, you know there's a scandal sheet from like Lady Whistledown. There's also a scandal sheet in here, and I love it. I just think it's so iconic. And then just this morning, on the 31st of August, on the very last day of the month, 31st of August, when I'm filming this morning, I finished Quicksilver by Callie Hart. I read that within 2 days. It's a 670 page book. I read it in 2 days. My heart cannot take it. It was such an amazing read. I'm gonna give it 4.5. I was tempted to give it a 5, but there's like just a couple of issues that I had with it. Some of it felt very like choppy. In places it felt a bit choppy, like something had been cut, but it was very obvious that we had cut it. Overall, I absolutely adored that book. And the magic system was so intriguing to me. And honestly, I didn't see the betrayals that were going to happen, or like the group of people. I just didn't see it happening. I don't know why in my brain it didn't compute. Normally I can kind of predict that thing. And that's also another thing that I really enjoyed, is a lot of my predictions for the book were different to what I was predicting, and a lot of the time I really enjoy that. I don't know, maybe over time it will be a 5-star read for me, but for right now I'm happy sat at a 4.5 with it. That felt like the marathon of marathons of Defeat the TBR episodes. I have no idea what TBR count we are on. I think we're going to be over the TBR count from last month by 3. Now, I'm not going to unhaul any books because I recently did a massive unhaul. It's been a long time since I've had to do this. I don't even know if there's anything honestly in here that I still own on my physical TBR, but we are soon to see. I don't remember if I put my entire physical TBR in here or if I just put like punishment books. Let's see what the jar offers us today. I'm so scared. JJK3. JJK3 I've already read, which is Jujutsu Kaisen 3, but although I've already read it, I can substitute it for volume 7. So we're gonna have volume 7 Jujutsu Kaisen. We've got to do 3 of these. This could get really scary really quickly because I already have a set TBR of 5 books and I have a couple of other books that I want to read that I know are not in this jar. And if I don't read these books, I have to unhaul them. Treasure Island, I don't own anymore, so that's fine. Let's go again. This might take a while because I have a lot of books in here that I don't own. Second book, This Vicious Grace by Emily Theed. This one I brought out on a whim and I'm very excited to read. It's such a floppy edition. So yeah, I'm excited about this, but I also know that this is a book that I really do not want to unhaul. So we're gonna have to try and squish that in. Go for round 4, but for pull 3. How the Dead Speak by Val McDermid. Do I still own that? I don't think I own it anymore. Yep, that one is on hold as well. So let's go again. I knew this was going to take a while because I haven't had to use this jar for a long time. Divine Rivals by Rebecca Ross. Now, I'm not going to put Divine Rivals in because I've obviously already read it. What I am going to do to be kind to myself is I'm going to put Ruthless Vows on because although this isn't Divine Rivals, it is the sequel. It's probably the closest we're going to get to Divine Rivals. And I know I could just pull again, but honestly, I'm already a bit stressed about trying to read the 5 books that I pulled randomly already. That is finally everything for today's video. I really hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, please do like and subscribe to the channel if you're new around here. Let's see more videos from me, and I'll catch you guys all in my next one. Bye!